in this video I'm going to be taking you through the process of printing this block. It's going to be over a few months probably, I'm not sure when I'll finish it. It's currently mid-January 2024. I started this block in October 2023 and then got distracted. So I've engraved ready for the first layer, which is what I'm going to print today and tomorrow. And then there'll be a whole other process of many other layers after that. I think this print is going to be called Mackerel Sky. Mackerel Sky refers to the patterns in the clouds that look a little bit like mackerel scales. So yeah, I think that's probably what it's going to end up being called. The actual design, you can't see it very well here, but there's a tree here and a hillside. And there's a walk I do every morning with my dog Winnie. And there's this amazing oak tree there. And was it a year ago? I think a year ago, the tree split in half. There was like fungus and yeah, the trunk just completely split in half. I thought that was the end of the tree, but it has carried on living, which is amazing. But I wanted to kind of immortalise it as it was. So that's what this block is of, the tree before it split. I'll show you some images here of the tree before and after, and I did take a few videos of it on my walk this morning so you could see it now. It still looks beautiful, but it doesn't look as symmetrical as it did. So the first layer of this reduction wood engraving is going to be like a grey-blue for picking up details in the clouds basically, and the next layer will be quite a rich blue, sky blue. Then I'll be engraving away the whole sky and moving on to adding details into the foreground. I've had to roll out quite a lot of ink because the block's quite big compared to what I normally work on, and then I've cut 100 pieces of paper, so I'm going to do 100 of the first layer with the expectation and hope that I'll achieve 50 to 80 would be a miracle, prints at the end of the additioning process, so once all the layers are down. So yeah, I'm going to need a lot of ink, so it's more than normal. I added a bit of yellow ochre to one end of the roller to kind of warm it up so that the foreground, which I don't want to be blue, is a bit warmer basically. So if I printed the foreground just in this cold bluey grey, I'd have to cover that with other ink in the future, whereas if I add a warm tone to it, it gives me the opportunity to utilise that colour, or it's just easier to cover up with other warm tones. It's time to ink up the block, which is always really satisfying, especially the first inking. So it's time to pull the first proof, which will not go well because it very rarely does. So I can feel there's not enough pressure there, so I need to add a bit more paper on top to make it the right height. So because my Albion press, which is from 1868, so it's very old, it's quite small, so it doesn't have a lot of pressure in the centre of the block. So I'm using a SLAMA press to just add a bit more pressure. The SLAMA press is a ball bearing Baren, which I find a really useful tool when printing larger prints. So here's the first proof, which will probably be quite patchy. Oh, it's actually not too bad. That is a surprise. Maybe this block is going to be one that behaves. So there's the first proof. I'm going to get on with printing now because I have a lot to do. It's going to take me quite a while. But I'll check back in probably when I finish printing them just to show you them all together. And yeah, and then it'll be on to layer 2, but this will take a little while to dry, so I won't be printing layer 2 for maybe another week. It's the next day now and I've printed 115 prints because I'd cut more paper than I realised. So I've cleaned the ink off the block so it's ready to engrave the next layer now. So I'll work back into this same block. The bits I remove now will stay the colour that I just printed, so either the ochre at the bottom or the grey blue at the top. I don't know if I'm going to take away any of the foreground yet, just because I don't think the printing was that consistent when I did it, and I just think I'm going to concentrate on the sky for the first 2 layers. So yeah, I'm going to cut away a little bit of the sky so that the grey blue comes through, and then the next layer will be a nice blue for the sky. So the last time I can remember filming for this video was the end of January, I think, or just, no, mid-January, just before I went away to my residency in North Wales, and it's now almost May, it's the very end of April, and yeah, what happened was I got back from the residency in February and then looked at the sky that I'd printed for this block and just wasn't that keen on it. I thought, doesn't look very subtle. I just thought, oh, that's no good, and I've printed loads of them, and anyway, I kind of lost faith in it. So they were just hanging around my studio for so long, and I think it was early April, I was like, no, I'm going to continue the block. I just had a bit of energy with it. So I engraved the sky away and then printed the foreground over the top. And actually, I was really pleased with how it looked. Like, I suddenly had a bit of faith in the design again. I lost quite a lot of prints along the way because the pencil marks from when I'd sketched onto the block had transferred to some of the prints, so I couldn't use them. So I don't know how many I'm at now, maybe like 60 or 70. And I started with a lot more than that. So this is what the block's looking like now. So I'm about to print layer 4. So I've been engraving the grass away, which is really subtle, and yeah, I'm not really sure how it's going to go. When I had printed the second layer, I'd had the yellow ochre along the bottom, and I didn't really love that. By the time I got back from my residency, I thought I was trying to fit too many colours into one print. So when I printed the third layer, I just kind of covered it up with the green, although there are still warmer tones coming through in the foreground. And I thought I just wanted it to be like bluey greens. But then when I was away on my latest residency in Cornwall, I looked at the block and thought, no, I want some yellowy tones in there. So now I'm going to print a lighter, yellower green on the top. So I'm kind of going backwards, and then I'll go forwards again when I print a darker layer on top of that. But yeah, it's challenging me, this block, which is always a good thing because I'm learning, and it might mean I'm not happy with the print at the end of it. But yeah, as I said, I will have learned a lot. So we'll see. I was editing this video last night, and I'd started it in January, and it's now like mid to end of May, and it's like I was a whole other person then. Like, it just feels like so long ago, and I'd only just started YouTube, and I could see like how nervous I was talking to the camera, and yeah, it was just weird looking back because I hadn't looked at the footage until last night. But anyway, so today I'm going to be finishing this print, hopefully. So I've been working for a couple of hours. It's been a bit tedious actually, like removing the grass, but I don't want to fully remove it because then the shadow from the tree would be like a bit stark. So I'm removing like most of it, but not all of it, and adding some light to the trees here in the background, and then the tree there. And I've done some lines down the path because I just thought it won't be very obvious that it is a path, because it's so subtle, the last two colours I've done. You can't really see a load of detail. So yeah, I just needed to make it a bit more obvious. This is a bit of a mess now because I've been using it as a guide, and yeah, it's covered in bits of wood. But anyway, so I'm working on that. So I'm going to print that probably in like a couple of hours once I've finished the engraving part. And then I'm also hoping to proof the Tintagel block today, which I started in the Tintagel video, which is 2 videos back. I probably won't print it today because the prints that are behind me, they're still a little bit tacky. So I'm just going to engrave it, proof it. I just thought that way you can see the final result in a video, as I did promise that, and yeah, it's just taken a little bit longer than I thought it would. So I'm going to finish engraving and then I'll go to the print studio. So I've just printed the Tintagel block. So this is the sketch that I started with that I did in Tintagel. It's got loads of notes on the back now for framing measurements. But anyway, yeah, this is the sketch with the colours that I was planning to use. So I think I've pretty much stuck to that. And this is the print. So I'm really pleased with it, actually, like a lot more pleased with it than I normally am when I print a proof. But it does need a little bit more work. I feel like the foreground especially needs more work. The problem I'm having with it is because the previous layer is still so wet, the ink's not sitting on it very well. So I'm going to have to wait a few days. And I was hoping to release them in about 10 days. So I need to decide whether I'm going to delay the print release or not. So yeah, we'll see. But that's the Tintagel one proofed. And now we're on to the Mackerel Sky. So I've put out like a dark green basically, with quite a lot of yellow ochre in it. But I don't know if it's the right colour, so I'm just about to proof it. I've got some proofs here. So yeah, we'll see. I'm not feeling as confident with this one, so that's why I did it second, so that had a bit of a boost when the Tintagel one came out okay. And yeah, this one, I'm not sure. Before I print this, one of my most asked questions is how do I register my print so it all lines up? So I just thought I'd quickly show you here, just really quickly. So that's the block, and these are just keys that I use in letterpress, but you just need anything that's like a bit lower than your block, but not too much lower. And then this is actually just a bit of mount board. And then I've cut 2 strips of mount and put them at a right angle in the top corner. And this gap here is how wide you want the border to your print. So yeah, this actually I didn't cut very well. You want your block really snug in it, and for some reason when I went to print layer 3, it felt like it wasn't very snug in there, so I added a bit of tape just to bulk it out. And then this is to stop these bits of noise here printing on my block. So yeah, it's very simple. So you just get the print that you're going to print on, and then you put it in the top corner there and just push it up against one of the sides and then the other side, and then lay it down and then you print it. So yeah, it's that simple. I won't print this one just yet, but yeah, it's a very like crude way of printing, but I find it works for me. You can get tabs, like metal or plastic tabs that stick to your paper, and you'd fasten them to something a little bit like this. But yeah, I like what I know, and this is what I've always done. When you've been working on a block on and off for like 6 months, I think, something like that, it feels like a lot of pressure when you come to the last layer and you hope that everything you'd hope for comes to fruition, and a lot of the time it doesn't. So yeah, I feel a little bit nervous at this point. I can already tell that we're going to have the same issue with this print as with the other one, which is that the ink is too wet that it's sitting on, so it doesn't really want to transfer, but it will at least give me an idea of the image and any other changes I need to make. Okay, that's actually way better than I had feared. So yeah, I'm happy with like the sense of light. It's amazing what the last layer can do, I think, on both of these prints, this one and the Tintagel one. They just look so much better with that last dark layer. So even though it hasn't printed perfectly because the ink beneath is too wet, it's at least shown me what I need to change. I feel a little bit frustrated that I've clearly taken too much of the grass away right in the foreground here. That's annoying me. I was going to take way more of the grass away than I did actually, and I'm glad I stopped and proofed it, which is why proofing things is always really helpful. But yeah, no, I'm happy with the sense of light. The tree possibly needs a little bit more work, but that's a relief. I feel relieved. I feel frustrated about the fact I can't really control the ink drying, but relieved that I'm happy with the print. It's really weird actually, because this field and this tree have gone through like quite a transformation in the last couple of years, less than a couple of years, like 18 months. As I said at the beginning of the video, the tree had split in half last year, and then this year, so I've always known it as a field where cows graze, but in the last 3 weeks it's been sprayed, so the grass has died, it has been ploughed, and now I think corn is growing in there. I think it's that. I'll put some videos up now, but it's crazy how different it looks now, the tree in the middle of this, at the moment, like brown expanse of mud, and how it looks in the photos that I used to depict it here. And that's kind of what's nice about art, is it's like a moment in time. So I've captured it as it was and as I knew it, and it's changed and developed, and it all looks different now. Like, you might not recognise it, but it's here, and this is how I remembered it basically. So my plan was to do a video next week of the 6 new reduction prints finished, and go through them all. So these are 2 of them, but now I'm not sure these 2 will be dry in time for the date I had in my head for the print release. That may or may not happen, so the best thing to do if you're interested would be to sign up to my newsletter. I'll put some details in the description below, just because I don't even know when I'm releasing these prints, just because I'm not in control of the drying time. And I'm going to the Bubby Tracy Craft Festival straight after the print release, so I need like a few days to package them, and if they're wet and I can't put them in their mounts, it's going to delay everything and make it all a little bit stressful and delay orders. So I just need to decide over the next few days if I'm going to be releasing them next week, or if I'm going to release them in mid-June, because that would be the next available date where I've got like a block of time to pack orders. So I will let you know when I know, but yeah, sign up to the newsletter, keep an eye on my Instagram and on here, because I'm just a bit unsure at the moment. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing the process. More reduction prints coming soon, hopefully. Actually, the next thing I really need to work on is the advent calendar, because that has fallen by the wayside yet again, and it's not going to get anywhere unless I actually work on it. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please like. If you have any questions, you can send me an email or comment below. And yeah, thanks for watching.